about Mosport race, has he actually got that cruise pace in green light?
Welcome everyone to round 4 of the Wave Italy Apex Racing League GT Championship. We've already had 5 races this season, and with 4 different winners, this championship is looking as competitive as we wished it would be. In the series' first ever visit to the Red Bull Ring just last week, it was James Crouch and Michael Neumeyer who were able to take the overall race wins, although neither of them were able to surpass Aaron Powell at the summit of the overall championship. Tonight we head back over the Atlantic to visit the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. This is the shortest track we visit all season long at just shy of 4 kilometers in length, but a lot is packed into this former F1 track venue, including several long radius corners, a long back straight and a very challenging elevation. One thing this circuit does lack, however, is many easy overtaking places, meaning the large reverse grid of 24 cars tonight could significantly alter the racing. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick. I'm very happy to have alongside me Marco Barbanir for this round of the season, with Mark Tranter and Sam Kumo working in the background to deliver this awesome broadcast on Apex Racing TV. And also a huge thanks to Andy Taylor, Christian Steenberg, Colin Weatherholt for producing our stunning graphics and video content. And also thanks to Wave Italy, the title sponsor for the Apex Racing League GT Championship, for supporting this series and offering some amazing prizes for the drivers in both the Pro and the Amateur Drivers Championships. Wave Italy aims to offer the best experience in driving simulation by conveying the thrill of a real race to casual racers and professionals of sim racing. They offer extremely realistic devices that can be used for corporate or private events, along with personal use as well. And their driver tuition is a superb way to improve your sim racing performance. Marco, once again, pleasure to have you in the commentary box for this round of the season. Mosport is an absolute joy to drive, particularly in these high downforce GTE machines. But it's not going to be easy to overtake. This is a narrow circuit, and so it could be a pretty chaotic round of the season.
Yes, absolutely. Hello everyone. Hello Sam. Very short track, so traffic management will be absolutely important. And to be fair, not a lot of passing opportunities, as we will see in a second in our track map guide that we will have. As per usual, you were saying earlier, the guys from the graphics department do an amazing job. It's such an honor to be on this broadcast. And here we go. So start of the lap, then we get into the first corner. Very dangerous bumps on the inside. They can really push you on the outside, lose control. If you clip the grass on the left side, you hit the wall there on the inside. And then turn number 2. In real life it is paved, the runoff area. Here it is grass. The car is loaded on the right side. You put the right side tires on the grass, you go into the wall. It's impossible to save the car. Turn number 3, Quebec. Not the hardest break in the track. You prepare yourself by going down the hill into turn 4, and then one of the toughest corners in all of motorsports, Moss corner, double apex. You will see tons of mistakes here. You can crash on the inside and on the outside for good measure, but if you survive, you have a little bit of respite because you have the Mario Andretti straightaway, which is not really a straightaway, but it works as one. And you get into the final section of the track. As I was saying, not a lot of braking zones in the final part of the racetrack. The S's 8, 9, and 10. Turn 8, you basically don't have to brake. You can just lift and go through the corner. Turn number 9, you brake a little bit more, and then you have to make sure, as we will see in a second, turn number 10, the narrowest of them all, and really here you have to brake, and then use all of the traction control you have. Careful on the grass on the left side, and you complete a lap. As you can see, If you want to pass, you have to pass in the first half of the lap. But the biggest opponent, Sam, I think today for these drivers will be themselves, because this is one of those old school racetracks. Hasn't changed much. Actually, I made my very first official sim race here in 2002 on Grand Prix Legends, and the track hasn't changed at all. So old school track, very narrow, lots and lots of grass, especially because the scan is not very updated. So Sam, I think you don't need to beat yourself. You need to be focused, concentrated, and then think about overtaking the other drivers and winning the race.
Definitely, on iRacing in particular, dipping a wheel onto the grass is so treacherous, and as you were saying in that chat guide, dipping a wheel onto the grass round several of these corners could be curtains for your race. So absolutely crucial that the drivers are well behaved out on circuit and do take their time when it comes to the overtaking. Here are all the cars which are available for the drivers. We've got the BMW, we've got the Corvette, we've got the Ferrari, got the Porsche, and a couple of others as well. Of course, this circuit, Marco, you know, it's a lot of corners, so you do want a car which is going to be good through the corners. However, my most memorable race around this circuit on iRacing is a GT4 race where we had the BMW versus the Porsche, and the BMW was so quick down the straights. It just looked impossible to overtake because you got that long back straight, of course. The Porsches couldn't make any impact through the corners, and we had drivers who were a second lap faster who couldn't make moves. So whilst for race 1 you want a car very good through the corners, in race 2, if you're starting high up, a car good down the straights can make you very tricky to beat.
Yes, when you go through the Mario Andretti straightaway, you know that you are coming up to, as I was saying earlier, not a very hard braking zone. The harder, the more you go into the S's, the harder you have to brake. But if you can defend into the first of the S's, you know that it's going to be very, very tough to put a move on you. So if you have a very quick car with not a lot of downforce, and you know you can be quicker there, and you can survive, of course, the rest of the racetrack where you really need the downforce. You can really have a very good car on your hands. Also, look at the track temperature, 104 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a sizzling hot racetrack. It's going to give these drivers even more things to worry about.
And it could well get warmer as well as the session goes on. I believe it's currently about 12:30, a 12:15 in the afternoon for the drivers, and that's just going to get warmer and warmer as the meeting goes on. So real challenge. It has actually increased by 1 degree the track temperature in the last few moments, and you can see the very sunny Mosport circuit for yourselves. Only 30 more seconds remaining in qualifying. We are really in the closing stages. It's currently ARL Championship leader on pole position, but Nicholas Laubich could threaten him here. I'm not seeing too many personal best sectors here for Laubich, so I don't think it's going to be a challenge, and he does just stay behind for now. In fact, that may even be an outlap. Danny Lee is not going to make it to the line because he's just got 1 more second to go. The line does come up pretty quick around this place, but he has to remain in 8th. So we will get a full formation lap for this circuit, and we can go through the grid then for tonight's race 1 of the evening. And it is Aaron Powell who manages to take that pole position ahead of Leandro Andaruti. Michael Newmeyer, who looked superb in race 2 at Red Bull Ring, he lines up in 3rd. Then it's defending champion Nicholas Laubich, who really could do with a good round tonight. Mark Hutchinson lines up in 5th. Then it's Mikael Ruttersbusch, Ving Glenn, Danny Lee, Chris Prescott, James Crouch, Tom Collins rounds out the top 11. Then it's second place in the amateurs, sorry. It's Collins at the top of the amateurs, Darrett Adkinson, who is top of the amateur championship, lining up in 12th place overall. Then it's his teammate Kevin Kitzman. Chris van der Nesse lines up in 14th. Then it's Jensen Adkinsons, Stephen Broomfield, Thomas Avanzini, who took pole position at Red Bull Ring last time out. He's 1.2 seconds off pole tonight though. Tom Bingham lines up in 18th. Then it's Nicholas Matthews, James Koulibaly, Angel Pedrero, Regis Clark, Colin McKenzie, Dominic Linden, Tom Brown, and then the drivers who did not set times, Tobias Ogrinic, Nikolai Drain, Emil Vinberg, and Christian Engelhardt. At least 4 of them, not sure about all of them, but at least 4 of them having to serve pit lane starts for this race 1 of the evening. It's the biggest reverse grid we can get tonight, Marco. 24 cars will be reversed for the race 2. And so with only 29 cars on the grid, you just got to make sure that you don't have an absolute terrible race. As long as you stay on the first couple of laps, most likely you're going to be in a very good spot for race 2.
Absolutely, and you know, the gods of sim racing have been very cruel sometimes, because I cannot imagine a tougher place to pass as we were saying, also the problem with traffic and not a big track for passing zone. So of course, having such a big reverse, it will make things very difficult for the drivers that want to come back into race 2, either because they had a good race 1, or because they had a very bad race 1 and weren't able to get the reverse grid, the position they wanted. As the cars are finally rolling, and as you were saying, it's one of the older scans in iRacing, therefore it's a long-paced lap, but not the longest lap in iRacing, so it's a good compromise.
Yes, yeah, it's not a road America, is it, that we have to suffer through here. Moss Corner is really the one, the corner that stands out to me on this circuit, Marco. It's really tricky over the crest.
It's tricky in every car. I mean, you have recently experienced it and you did brilliantly, by the way, in Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup a couple of weeks back. And it's really one of those corners that makes you think, you know, every lap you go there and you know, okay, this lap I'm going to take it the correct way, and then you don't, you know. And usually this involves also other drivers. So you think you can make a pass here, most of the times you can, and sometimes it's one of those places that makes me think about Circuit of the Americas, you know, when you really want like 3 monitors or VR, so you can really clip those apexes, you know, when you want, because it's so difficult to get it right with a single monitor. And these cars are of course quite big, and of course, you know, we know all the memes about the BMW, but all of these cars are really not made for this, you know, kind of very narrow corners.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, reminder that ARL is at the moment at the top of the championship in this series, with a slight advantage over Michael Neumeyer in 2nd position. Dar Adjinson's top of the amateur drivers. We're only a quarter of the way into this Wave Italy Apex Racing League GT Championship, so plenty can change from now to the end of the season. But with such a competitive order, it is absolutely crucial for the drivers to try to score those big points if they possibly can, and bid their opportunities at a title win. Cal on the pole position once again tonight, and he puts his foot down. It's not a strong start for him because Leandro Andriuti is actually getting ahead, heading into turn 1. They are side by side, the Corvette and the Ford. However, it is the Evo SR machine which manages to storm ahead. Car off in the background. Andriuti still trying to come back down the inside into turn 2. It's a strong start for Laubich, as into the wall is Chris Prescott there with a high speed crash, and also 2 or 3 others as well. Aventini was one of the drivers involved, and also Nicholas Matthews, I believe, as well. And now we've got another car dropping down the order. I think that might be Andriuti then from 2nd position, who was challenging for the lead, who got his nose into the lead for a split second, but that bad news for him. He has fallen on well to the back.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it in the opening, that corner especially. The car is so loaded on the right side. You have grass there, so grass. Look at the car. You see 3 drivers make the same exact mistake. Very easy. Down into 19th place right now.
Absolutely dreadful stuff for him. At least he's still within the reverse grid. At least he's got a clean car still. So at the end of that one, it is ARL leading the way as Andriuti pulls off a brilliant lead for 18th place. But it's Powell leading the way. Laubich into 2nd position, so 2 places gained for Nicholas Laubich so far. Great start for him. He got past Michael Neumeyer, who's in 3rd. There's Mark Hutchinson and Bing Glenn rounds out the top 5. In the amateur category, it is still Tom Collins leading the way for Team Lizard Motorsports. Dar Adjinson is in 2nd position. Chris Van der Nesse in 3rd. And 4th and 5th are Tom Bingham and James Koulibaly, albeit they will have Andriuti coming amongst them very soon. Now Bisha just having to look in his mirror slightly at the moment from Numai, but this is where you've got to be close. You've got to be close coming out of Moss Corner and then really get that slipstream heading into the S's at the end of the lap. And the drivers are aware of that. They're trying to break the drafts, but at least at the front, not really any impression speed.
While most of the field right now, as they get to the S's for the second time. Once again, you see how get as many positions as possible. And there is maybe some contact, definitely contact now. Car spins there, I think it was Quigley, the American driver. I don't know if they made contact the first time, the second time it was inevitable. Spinning car Quigley hit under the hood. You can see the amount of damage on both drivers. Certainly a terrible start of the race. This driver under the hood, he's had a couple of moments and this was a very scary one, very lucky to still be in the race.
Absolutely, yes. We'll get a replay, I believe, of that past incident. And let's see if there was a little bit of contact initially.
Yes.
Well, there was, yeah. He was kind of running wide a little bit. So we'll see if the stewards will investigate that one. That wasn't lap 2, so they won't necessarily look at it. But if the victim of that incident does feel like it should be investigated, that can occur. Glenstone 5th place, you can see Danny Lee coming under significant pressure from Crouch. And the Eagle SR guys, at least last time out, I believe it was Mark Hutchinson, who was running barely any jump. It was absolutely insane at Red Bull Ring how fast he was down the straight. And I think Crouch might be doing the same thing here. And it's really giving him a good chance at Lee. He's got the toe from Glenn at the moment. But once Crouch gets within half a second of him going through Moss, the overtaking chance really does open up. You can see around this part of the circuit, no problems whatsoever for Lee. He's gradually catching up to us as we run forward with Dinkler.
Yes, you can see it's very, very difficult to make a difference. As I was saying in the opening, maybe your best bet, if you are very evenly matched with the driver in front of you, is to try and force a mistake. And thankfully, on a place where making mistakes is quite easy. I see a oh, here we go, we have our mistake. Collins, I commentator cursed him. Collins is dropping I think around 5 or 6 position, makes me think about a mistake at Moss Corner, judging where we were seeing the leaders now straight away. But they are single file, and Powell looked like he was able to open a little bit of a gap almost to the 1 second region before dropping once again now in the S, so probably he's got, you know, same philosophy that you were saying earlier, Sam. Go downwards. With the replay, what happened to Collins. Let's see if he made a mistake at Moss Corner or not. Man, Sam, I'm on a roll tonight. This doesn't happen very often for us.
I mean, usually we struggle to commentate on things which have already happened. Tonight you're commentating on things which haven't even happened yet. So having an absolute field day. Here is McHutchinson just about hanging on to 4th position, but he did have a poor end to that last lap. He came under significant pressure from Bing Glenn. Now he's in the 4th, so I'm not necessarily sure that he'll be running as low downforce as his teammates, because he'll have a different setup, as Kitzman has had a problem. Kevin Kitzman is dropping down the order, and that is at Moss Corner once again. In fact, I think he's hit the wall, so dreadful news there for Kitzman, who, yeah, one of the most consistent drivers in this series. And we're just saying that's exactly the same mistake as we saw before, but he managed to hit the wall, so we'll be able to pick up a faster pair and should be able to take the finish as we see Vinbo getting past Koulibaly. Vinbo with a poor start for himself. This should be fairly easy up into 18th.
Yeah, we saw a glimpse of that crash when we were watching for the review. Kovacic was being on the inside at the S, so he's able to make the move. And he's able to complete the pass with ease. And Koulibaly probably from that double collision he had earlier with Underwood. Back to the front of the race. Now the gap is north of 1 second. Now between Lausch and Powell. Neumeier looks like he is getting ready for a move, or at least trying to do so. Now Sam, is it worth risking it especially considering the nature of this racetrack. Or maybe you want to wait a little bit more, but of course if you wait a bit more, you run the risk of letting the leader really put a big gap.
I think you've got to go for it wherever you can, honestly. And Nima really not making a whole lot around that part, so maybe he doesn't have the straight line speed to make much of an impression. The BMW is maybe good down the straights though, so you know, it's generally not particularly light. I mean, Tom Bingham had some good results, to be fair, in the BMW last time out at Red Bull Ring. He spoke quite positively about it. Apologies, he's in the Corvette. Apologies. On the Envoy, it looks very similar to the BMW, but the Corvette generally good all round. You can see we do have the BMW in the box on that. But yeah, not much of an impression being made by Niemeyer. Yeah, slim pickings at the moment for those overtaking opportunities. However, Andretti is showing him how it's done. There's a little bit of a slide just ahead, but seemingly no spinners. But Andretti is trying to get past Stephen Broomfield at the moment, and it's Hutchinson's has also just been overtaken by Andretti. He's going for a very deep move, maybe a little bit late there, and well, Hutchinson's trying to take advantage of it, but Broomfield clearly not happy with that one. The car all over the place, and in fact, it seems like the Ford GT will let the position back go. Please, that was really all that happened there, Mark, because that could have been much worse there for Broomfield.
Yes, I was sure we were going to see a big three-car crash there, by everyone involved. To avoid a big mess, as Neumeier has gotten past Laubisch for second place in the meantime.
Well, that is a big move. That must have been into the final corner. Okay, hold your chairs, everyone, right now, because this could be one of the moves of the season between Niemeyer and Laubisch. So in that part of the track, it's the type of move that you dream of, but Niemeyer has been able to pull it off. So he's now got 1.6 seconds to pal. His first race is fairly long still, it's 25 minutes, so there is time certainly to at least make up the gap. The question is, will he be able to make the move? Now, here we go. Is it into the final corner? Niemeyer right behind. No, it's a mistake then. I thought he may have been able to do the inside move into the final corner. In fact, it was a mistake from Nicholas Laubisch, our defending champion, and that was made awfully easy there for Michael Niemeyer.
I mean, Sam, we are bringing the magic of 2018 back at night, not missing a step. Let's see how long this one goes. Surely Neumeier is now trying to defend from Laubisch first, and then maybe close the gap, of course, because of the mistake and the overtake. Now the gap has got 1.5 seconds. Quite a bit as this one, as we focus on Tom Bingham, the BMW. You see the performance link eSports trying to close the gap on Adrian. We've seen just in the Apex Academy. F3 Vera Super Series is in front of them on the inside of the field, and this time without contact, he is able to complete the pass, goes a little bit on the grass, but he is able to make the stick this time. So troublesome first part of the race. He's looking like he can start to think about possibly a top 10. Van den Nesse is around 4 seconds. Now, train for division and back with Hutchinson, Glenn, Lee, and Crouch, that you see on the bottom right side of the screen. All these drivers nicely in line. Biggest amount of pressure being on Hutchinson. Hutchinson must be very thankful that we don't have pit stops, because you know, in the longer races, Sam is the classic situation. The guy that sets in first finishes last, you know, in a train of cars like this. But there are no pit stops, so it's okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the good things about this championship, I think. Got to make the moves done out on circuit. Can't rely on just waiting for an opportunity at an undercut or fuel saving, as you point out. But yeah, that is quite a queue, and maybe even maybe Andretti is probably too far back, 8 seconds behind. So we won't be able to make up that one, but we'll be fairly close by the end of the race if they start to battle with one another. This is the battle for third place in the amateur category as Collins brings it right to the perimeter there. That is scary stuff. Heading downhill, the car is totally sliding at that point. You want the car to slide out a bit because it opens up the second parts of the corner, but you don't want to slide out quite that far. Collins does manage to keep it on circuit at least. Of course, Collins started from amateur pole before having an off at this Moss corner. Once again, he's really running the perimeter of this Mosport circuit. So you'd expect him to have the pace on Bingham, but if he is using the strength of that BMW, it might be a little bit tricky.
Yes, so the first and second in the amateur class are Adriansens and Van den Ness. You can see they have quite a good gap. By the way, the first pole right now would be Regis Clark. He's sitting in 24th position, and I think he is one lap down, if I'm not mistaken, but it still counts. It still counts. So right now it seems like he's going to grab the score. It's a long race. James Crouch. I mean, every time. Sometimes it's the camera angle. But every time I see the cars go a little bit too wide, the normal there down the hill, it's always a scary moment. And I have to say, I understand why they paved the run of Ferry in real life, Sam, but it has lost a lot of. Thankfully, the rest of the track is still very rough and but not having the grass there in real life makes that corner also a little bit of his character. I still know that iRacing has this gap.
Yes, yeah, I agree. But a little bit like Watkins Glen, where you got the Philosopher corner now, which is paved, whereas on the sim it's all grass. And yeah, I do prefer these older scans. Doesn't necessarily look the prettiest, but in terms to race, it is that much more of a challenge. As Collins almost being overtaken. Sorry, this is Collins trying to overtake Bingham, and he nearly got it done. Now he's got part of his car alongside. BMW is fairly wide, and he's holding on. It's the Performance Link driver of Tom Bingham at the moment. There really is not any respite for him whatsoever. We were riding on board for a moment with Danny Lee, who had no straight line speed, and it's always interesting. We saw it at Red Bull Ring, and we're seeing it here at Mosport, just the difference in the straight line speed. It's not necessarily due to the cars, but due to the setups. And Lee was actually losing time to Glenn, despite being in the slipstream. Glenn wasn't making much of an impression either on Crouch, so it's really important. Apologies, wasn't making much of an impression on Hutchinson. So it's really important for Lee to try to stay out of range of Crouch, otherwise he could be very vulnerable, as and once again a bit too far back. And Nima not making any progress on Powell at the moment, the gap remaining at 1.6, and your prediction once again, Marco, was kind of right. He's just having to focus his attention on keeping Laubish behind, at least for the moment.
Yes, in the meantime, Anderuti went past Van den Ness, so he's now up to 10th, as the other Adriansens is fighting with Gronfield. There we are, great from our production booth. As you can see, the competitor. And Collins has gone past Bingham, so now he's up third in the amateur class, just behind these dueling drivers. Down the once again, we have less than 10 minutes left in this race. We can see live shot from Stephen Bromfield, and as you can see, I don't know how comfortable it is to use a visor in summer, but that can really help you save earlier, especially navigating the twistier sections of this racetrack.
Yeah, he's seemingly getting through it fairly well at the moment. Still no mistakes from these drivers. It's been pretty high quality driving so far, as Lee really under pressure there from Crouch. He was nearly caught by the end of the Andretti straight this time, but hung on once again. By the way, of course, this is an Apex Racing League series. Very happy that you're watching along. But this isn't the only series that Apex Racing League host. They host series pretty much every day of the week. On Mondays, we've got the MX-5 racing, the Mazda MX-5s. On Tuesdays, we've got GT3 racing. On Wednesdays, we recently had a Porsche Cup racing. On Thursdays, we've got a new NASCAR league. On Fridays, we've got a prototype league that runs the P2 cars and also the Radical SR8. On Saturdays, we've got a new Formula 3 league, and of course on Sundays we have GTE cars. There's so much on offer at Apex Racing League, really covering the most popular cars on iRacing. And we've got plenty of new series as well coming up very soon. We're going to have a Formula V Championship coming up soon, And of course, very excited about the NASCAR League as well, starting on Thursdays very soon. So do make sure to go to apexracingleague.com to find more details on those championships in case there is a series you fancy joining, particularly the NASCAR, the prototypes and the F3 leagues as they are starting in the next couple of weeks. Laubich got his nose ahead of Nehemiah heading into the S's. He wasn't quite able to go round the outside, however, but Nehemiah, really any hopes of catching up to Pal gone now. Gap up to 2.2 seconds.
You're absolutely right, Sam. As you see, the guys were in front lap cars in the back of the shot. These two guys are pretty sure of making the podium, as they have a big gap of Ratsenson in fourth place and Glenn and the other guys we were watching earlier in the train for spot. It remains to be seen how willing are Neumayer and Laubich, especially Laubich, willing to risk to grab one spot more. And we have talked at length about. Let's see what happened to Bingham, because he disappeared from our monitors, and this is why getting into Moss corner.
Hardware?
Like a mechanical failure, yes, hardware failure. Yeah, the car turned left at some point, which is not the correct racing line.
Yeah, you know, Lightning McQueen always says, turn left to go right. No, turn right to go left. That's the phrase. Peter Mackay's favourite film, that, of course. But yeah, he's not very cultured. He's Peter. Mikael Rutzbusch at the back of this long chain. He's kind of been sitting, hoping that something will happen. Adjinson's, I believe, catching up to these guys. Has started to get, well, it's kind of been close throughout, honestly. Still not really any moves being made. And Glenn gets particularly close heading into Moss corner, but he can never really stay particularly close. I mean, if he can stay as close as he was heading into Moss corner on the exit, then he'd have a great chance. But look at that, the gap goes from maybe half a car length to 2 or 3 car lengths there. So something going on there with Bing Glenn. He hasn't quite got that Moss corner sorted.
You know, Sam, especially when you consider that the Porsche probably has got the worst brakes in all the field. When you get into this corner driving Porsche, you have to be super careful, and maybe the Porsche is so nice in many aspects, having great traction with the engine mounted in the middle, more or less, slightly towards the rear. But if you work and think a lot about braking, when you brake, of course, in a tough braking area like that, really have to consider risks. And then, of course, if the braking distance is bigger, the other car can accelerate quicker out of the corner and put the distance to get safety on the back straight.
Let's see if the Bush can use some grunts here on the back straight to see if Laubich can get past. This is as close as I've seen him get, and this is going to be closer because Nehemiah's got to cover the inside line. You know, that's basics. One of the best drivers in the series, Nehemiah, so he'll know what to do here. But Laubich getting his car ahead. Can he sweep it round the outside into the S's? The outside turns into the inside. This is absolutely fantastic battling, and Nicholas Laubich is past. Doesn't make a mistake like he did earlier on, but he does run wide a little bit, and this is just opening up the gap once again for the Logitech G Altus eSports car of Nehemiah to return the favour and return into second position. Superb racing against the highest I-rated driver in the field in Nehemiah, and the defending champion in Laubich, who is super close there to the grass, must have dipped the wheel onto the white line at least. And this battle is continuing on. He's getting him offline into every single corner at the moment is Laubich, but finally the attack has to end. And Nehemiah did superbly well there, Marco, to get back ahead. He lost the position, but just by putting his car on the inside into the final corner, it just forced Laubich to not take the apex, and that's how he managed to re-overtake.
That was absolutely great stuff. Pair are racing between the pair of them. Let's see if we can get the same here in the battle for fourth place. As the here we go, overtake, and Laubich Laubish gets ahead, and they're still side by side heading into the SS.
It's a carbon copy of the last lap. Has Laubish learned his lesson? He's a bit more feisty perhaps this time. Again, Neumeier will try to keep his car alongside, and again, Laubish does leave him room. This time, he's got a better exit though, covers off the inside immediately, and Nicholas Laubish is ahead surely for the final time. This is absolutely immense racing. We thought you can overtake around this circuit. They've overtaken each other 3 or 4 times though in this race so far. And it's still not over because Laubish looks so feisty. This is just for second place in race 1, but you'd think it would be for the overall title. The gap up to 4.4 seconds out in the lead. They're lapping a second a lap slower than they were earlier on. But eventually he is able to consolidate that one as Lee has got his best chance of the race to get, but as Laubish has gone off the circuit, in fact, we're going to see Laubish off the circuit. Perhaps can he get back onto circuit in the podium positions? He can. And that will be bits of disappointment there for Nicholas, and he's flashing the headlights. Maybe there was contact between the two of them. I'm sure we'll get a replay of it soon. Meanwhile, Hutchinson still ahead of Glenn, still ahead of Lee, as we've got another off now, and this is Collins and Broomfield. Collins, I think, trying to overtake Broomfield there, and they've crashed in an awkward spot on the circuit.
Replay time, it's all kicking off. Let's see, as he's inside the front field, instead of the Porsche. Ooh, big hit side on side. Two cars hit, of course, right side with the left side, and that's a big hit, especially now at the end of the race, as we see now Hutchinson I think we are about to get the white flag because the leader is halfway through his lap. Should have 1.5 laps left. All seems to be clear between Neumeier and Laubish. Maybe just a mistake from Laubish. A little bit of too much aggressiveness, so to speak, as Collins is in the pit lane for getting repairs. As Powell is just about ready to get the white flag. There we go, Barney. It's about to wave him the white flag, and I think for Powell has been, can we say, a relaxing drive up front? Let's see.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, here he is, heading on to the last lap. Pretty much a victory lap for him with the gap he's got as Vinbo. He's had a little bit of a problem. He drops down to 14th position, you can see there. And just to confirm as well, we did have it confirmed that there was no contact between Neumeier and Laubish. So just a mistake from Laubish. That's why he wasn't able to mount that challenge on Neumeier, just showing the difficulty of Mosport, that even a driver of his caliber can fall for it. Glenn is as close as he's been all race to Hutchinson. He has been ever so close through the SS section throughout tonight. It's been really fast around that part, but it's every time this middle part of the track where he can't quite do a whole lot. And also you can see Crouch under pressure from Ruttersbusch just in the background. Glenn is having to defend more from Lee though than he's able to attack the Evo SR car ahead. He's shaking about a bit, is Glenn, and any chances of 4th position surely coming to an end there. But out in the lead, he'd only taken 1 race win in his Apex Racing League career heading into this season. But, well, in this, the 6th race of the season, is going to be a 3rd race win of the championship for Aaron Powell. A storming drive from the Evo SR driver, and he extends his lead at the top of the championship. Michael Neumeier finishes in 2nd place, beating his German compatriot Nicholas Laubish. Hutchinson finishes in a very gutsy 4th position, ahead of Glenn and Lee. Crouch and Ruttersbusch, no changes between those drivers near the end. And top of the amateur drivers is Dar Hutchinson, who is really setting out his claim for the amateur title. He's proven to be the fastest amateur out on circuit so far this season, and that is exactly the result he needed. Collins and Mackenzie, apologies, this is Collins on Koulibaly right at the end of the race, Marco, for the battle for 17th position.
Yes, here they are coming onto the final few corners, a little bit of smoke in front of them. We have the final 2 drivers fighting still on the track, and that's a nice move from Collins. He gets 17th place No, Koulibaly gets this slowed down in the final corner because they were basically side by side. If not ahead was the Porsche driver. Whatever the case, we will get confirmation of the results in a second as everyone is home safe and sound. But first we will have a nice message from our partners of the Apex Racing Academy. Don't go away.
Welcome back to the Wave Italy Apex Racing League GT Championship. Big thanks there to Apex Racing Academy for sponsoring the championship. Of course, Apex Racing Academy providing over 29 data packs for a variety of cars, including prototype single-seaters, GTs and even rallycross cars, and they're also producing some amazing prizes as well for the drivers, 1-year subscriptions to Apex Racing Academy, which is an absolutely fantastic prize. So big thanks to them for supporting the series and yeah, giving the drivers a nice incentive to finish high up in any of the championships. The results are up on screen, and it was a brilliant race win once again for Aaron Park. It's his 3rd race win of the season. Like I said, really wasn't fancied for taking the title at the start of this season, but he has had an absolutely exceptional season so far, and he takes another race win tonight. Michael Neumeyer finished in 2nd place. Then it was Nicholas Laubisch in their classic battle, their certainly battle of the season so far. Mark Hutchinson got his elbows out to hold on to 4th position. He had a classic battle with Vin Glenn. Danny Lee just struggled with straight line speed, it seemed, in 6th position, but he was able to beat out James Crouch and Mikael Ruttersbusch. All those drivers from 4th down to 8th were super close to one another throughout. Dar Adjinson's won in the amateur category and by a convincing margin as well. Leandro Andarucci went off the circuit on lap 1. He was storming through though and managed to finish back in 10th position. Then Chris van der Nesse was 2nd place out of the amateur drivers. Jensen Adjinsons was able to finish in 12th position. Then it was Stephen Broomfield, Emil Vinbo from the pits, Angel Pedrero, Thomas Avanzini was in 16th, James Koulibaly was in 17th, Tom Collins started on pole position for the amateur drivers, but he only ended up in 18th in the end, so shame for him. 1 lap down was Colin McKenzie, Chris Prescott, Dominic Linden and Regis Clark. 8 laps down was Tom Bingham, and 11 laps down was Nicholas Matthews. However, with a large reverse grid for tonight, 24 cars, it will be Matthews who starts on pole position. Just missing out on the pole was Kevin Kitzman, who crashed at Moss Corner, and also not getting within those reverse grid places was Christian Engelhardt, Tom Brown and Tobias Ogrodnik in 28th position. Nikolai Thrain, I think, may have taken the starts. He was in 29th. Thanks, of course, for tuning in to this broadcast on Apex Racing TV. Of course, if you've enjoyed this broadcast, do leave a like and also subscribe to the channel because we've got so much action happening. Of course, we've also got streams going on simultaneously to this one. That's how crowded it is on Apex Racing TV. But we've got broadcasts every night of the week in a variety of time zones as well, really European and American times. And also make sure to check out our social media pages as well on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. We're constantly posting highlights of our races, certainly a few that we could pick out already from tonight, such has been the awesome battling. So make sure to give all those platforms a follow to keep up to date with everything that's happening on Apex Racing TV. Marco, just preparing now for race 2, and well, it's really tricky to tell what's going to happen, honestly, in this one. I feel like if it's going to be tricky for the top guys to get through it, and maybe dangerous for the top guys to get through, because we saw so many incidents for drivers in that last race. If someone has an incident in front of you, particularly on the first lap, you can have very little opportunity to avoid it, and I think that might be a possibility on lap 1 in this second race.
You're absolutely right, Sam. You know, usually they say that cooler heads will prevail, or hopefully will prevail, but in this case, you are not the only one that needs to have a cool, collected head. It's also your opponents, because especially in positions like, you know, the left-hander down the hill or Moss corner, if someone spins in front of you, you have absolutely no way to avoid. Or even if you avoid, you have a date with the wall. So it's going to be absolutely, imperative that everyone uses, their heads in this second race, and maybe wishful thinking, a bit more calmness on race 1 can in lap 1 can get us a lot of excitement in lap 2, 3, and 4, etc. No, because everyone is still in the race, the group is still all close together, and we don't have a massive crash or maybe some holes throughout the field because drivers had to stop to avoid the wrecks. And now you see the cars on the grid, Sam, and I think we are about to get the starting grid for race 2, and here it is.
Yeah, there it is. So Matthews, yeah, 11 laps down in race 1. Pole position for race 2. That's what he'll be caring about, I am sure. What an excellent opportunity it is for him. I do have to check that he has taken the start, and he sure has, because he didn't have the pole sitter who took the start last time out at Red Bull Ring, so don't want to fall that again. But no, Matthews will start pole position. Tom Bingham alongside, and then it's Clark, Linden, Prescott, McKenzie, Collins, Koulibaly, top 8 all amateur drivers. Avanzini took pole at Red Bull Ring, and he hasn't shown anywhere near that pace tonight, but from 9th position you've got to fancy him as one of the favourites for this one. Angel Pedrero lines up in 10th, there's Emil Vinbo, who showed good pace actually in race 1. Stephen Broomfield lines up in 12th. Then behind that it's Jensen Adjensons, Chris van der Nesse, Leandro Andaruti, watch out for him. Dara Adjensons lines up in 16th, then it's Mikael Ruttersbusch, James Crouch, Danny Lee, Vinglen, Mark Hutchinson, Nicholas Laubisch, Michael Neumeyer, and race 1 winner Aaron Powell in 24th. Behind that it's Kevin Kitzelman, Christian Engelhardt, Tom Brown, Tobias Ogrignik, and Nikolai Thrain. At least hopefully they'll all take the grid. I'm not sure if Tobias and Nikolai will, however. And also quick shout out to Wave Italy for sponsoring the series and offering some absolutely immense prizes. The title sponsor for this, the Apex Racing League GT Championship for this season, and they provide some of the most comprehensive driver simulator training in the world, along with designing also their own peripherals using real track data to specifically produce wheels and pedals that recreate the real life driving experience. You can see the fantastic driver training base in Verona over on their website, a couple of really intuitive videos over there, and as a prize, the pro drivers get a choice of Wave Impetus Imola or Wave Impetus Monza sim pedals in a colour of their choice, and the AM drivers get a half day of professional coaching at the Wave Italy training centre at Verona. And also you can get a 5% discount for Wave Italy products by just using the code APEXRACING5, that's with a capital A, in order to get a 5% discount. Huge thanks to Wave Italy, and yeah, thanks for producing some absolutely immense prizes worth thousands of pounds for the drivers. So the drivers are rounding the final corner now, and we are away racing for race 2 of the evening, and it is a strong start for Matthews, managing to keep behind Dominic Linden at the first opportunity, albeit Linden is already up 2 places, so great start already for the Centurion Racing driver team as he has tried to get past into turn 2. We've got a car off, it's Regis Clark off the circuit. We did see 3 3 go off at turn 2 earlier on. I think we've got similar numbers this time around as well. Vinbo with a slight tap, and we've got a couple of Porsches round. That's
Oh, man.
Pedrero and Avanzini. Avanzini, one of the favourites for this race too. We've got more cars off, and that's the Corvette into the wall that time. And that was one of the front runners. I think that was Danny Lee who crashed into the wall on that occasion. So a couple of big hitters, Avanzini and Lee in particular, with significant damage in the early stages. Will have to pick up a faster pair, but it's still Matthews and Linden leading the way. And honestly, the grid market is totally different. We've got Giles gaining double-figure places already.
Yeah, exactly the opposite of what I wished for in the beginning, and now we see several cars going too wide, maybe 2 by 2 heading into the S's. Matthews Linden being your top 3, so a couple of lazy spins, but also a couple of very hard hits in that first lap. First lap that's finishing. Right now there is a Corvette there launching on the inside. Now they have 3 wide, BMW, Porsche and Corvette, of the manufacturer variety of this championship. As Avanzini is back into pit lane, he was one of the cars that we saw go out of the... Oh dear, there goes Anderuti once again. Terrible evening for him.
Wow, and it really opened up as well for Anderuti, but that is a huge shame. And now we've got Broomfield off as well, so Broomfield has just got past his teammate. Linton could have really held up those drivers behind, but whilst Broomfield got away, but that's not going to happen anymore, so I'll try to get through the top positions. It's Matthews, Linton and Van der Nesse at the top of the Amateur Championship as Adjunson is off. That's the Jensen variety right there. And top of the Pro drivers is Vinbo, Crouch and Laubish. So actually a fairly competitive top pro drivers, as here comes Vinbo taking the lead. He did lead a few laps at Imola a couple of seasons ago, but honestly that's the only occasion I can recall him doing so. But he swoops around the outside of Nicholas Matthews, and it's the Cars competition car now leading the way.
Oh man, chaos in his first couple of laps, and you know, now Vinbo has the lead over Matthews. Crouch, I think, will want to try and get back as soon as possible. Laubish, see him behind Van der Nesse and trying to find a space where to put his Porsche. He finds one to get past the BMW. Michael Neumeier follows through, and 3 wide, almost BMW in the grass. Was Linden there. Very careful there, almost making contact. And you know, these corners are so, you know, the car is always, you know, sitting on one side. You basically roll on the car slightly and you turn the guy in front of you. You see that already a couple of times today.
Neumeier is able to get his way through, so look at that. You got a group of cars all super close to one another, and now Neumeier just pops out of the rest of them and immediately sprints away. That was some brilliant action through turn 2 with Laubish gaining a couple of places. Crouch has got past Matthews. Matthews could win the amateur category here. Would be a first for him because he's so far clear of the other amateurs so far in this race. We've got Kittelman battling side by side with Collins. 2 very evenly matched drivers. Expect this battle to go on for a while as Collins was going for a dive into the final corner. Very ambitious stuff from himself. Powell is just making up a move, so race 1 winner Aaron Powell up into 8th position now. So that was just a move on Linton. As Matthews has got off the circuit, I have jinxed him, I think, and Matthews has crashed at turn 2 or 3 with Crouch.
Yeah, and you can see the number of positions that Matthews has lost as Laubish there goes around the outside of Neumeier, Corvette and the Porsche. Still going side by side, and they will stay side by side through the evidence. We have the drama there at the back, angle at Bush, Broomfield all dropping positions left and center as we look back from Crouch's car at this duel between Neumeier and Laubish as they enter the SS section. I think the situation has stabilized a little bit, and so Neumeier in 3rd and Laubish in 4th.
And Laubish really suffered there with his straight line speed. He's clearly got damage on the front of that car, as you can see, and so struggling down the straights. We should be able to get a replay now of what happened between Crouch. So Crouch was actually by himself, spins round. Oh, and Matthews had nowhere to go. Oh, and then that's how Labish got the damage. Wow, well, I thought it was a lighter hit than that. So that is, so Crouch has kind of inadvertently perhaps helped himself in this race. So he's given Labish some damage there, of course inadvertently. And wow, that's it's great news for Numai. He was the one front runner who benefited significantly from that, and of course bad news for the Joe who had to take evasive action, Matthews, who's now down into 19th position. Powell, I think, was just battling with Glenn. Not sure if he made that move, but it's certainly close between all of them. And Crouch under super pressure now from Numai, who can see a race win coming here just as he won, of course, race 2 at Red Bull Ring.
Trying to get in the draft is Neumeier. He is already on the inside, gets past the Corvette keys. We'll have to see how the damage will affect Lavish there. I mean, certainly don't penalize him much on the on top speed, because there is not a lot of part on the backstretch and it's around the inside. Simply said, the down, these cars mostly generate the downforce through the massive that they have on the back, especially the Porsche. Absolutely immense diffuser. I still remember the surprise when the car was first introduced, and the reason behind moving the engine from the rear to the center was to have to make space for this massive diffuser that made the Porsche GT project a winning one, I should say.
Yeah, you can really see it, can't you? How significant it is. But, yeah, one of the go-to cars certainly in this is, of course, Labish managing to take the title in the Porsche 911 last season. Changing his allegiances this season, but he is certainly very capable. On his second place out of the amateur, he's being caught, but he had a big enough gap as Nicholas Adjunsons past Linden. That was very nice there from Jensen Adjunsons, who did have a setback earlier on. His brother, his brother Dara, is down in 19th position at the moment, so poor for him. As James Crouch is letting pass a lot of drivers at the moment. Now, to be fair, they've all kind of made sense. Numai was faster than him. Labish he perhaps felt guilty about colliding with, and Powell is his teammate. But if he falls any further, then there might be something going on with Crouch.
But
oh no!
And that is Van den Ness going around after contact with Vin Glenn. It was contact front to rear, as we say, a massive thanks to Carter Lundy for subscribing to Apex Racing TV here on YouTube. As you can see, Linden now trying to keep on Van den Ness after Van den Ness' spin is back on track. Doesn't seem to have a lot of damage, but of course, as we were saying, as we have said many times, if you lose a position or two here, or three even worse, it's quite a top position to make those positions back. You can make it, you can do it, but it can take a lot of time, and especially when you have only now half an hour left. These cars can race for even 24 hours in real life, so they are certainly not easy to drive, but certainly they are not like cars that will fall off dramatically after 40 minutes of racing in terms of performance, tire wear especially, so you really need to work hard in this position.
Yeah, they're not going to be given to you, most likely. So driver had makes a mistake. We feel kind of forced that mistake there. Really hounding the back of Mackenzie, and he is passed as Labish has made a mistake, and well, it just keeps getting better for Michael Numai up in second place, but Labish already with damage. He must even be thinking about coming into the pits, honestly. I'm sure he won't do, because he'd lose the best part of 20 seconds if he did, but he's probably losing a good half a second a lap with that damage. It was a huge impact in the early stages when Crouch spun in front of him. Labish pretty much had nowhere to go but to crash into, not sure if it was him or Matthews, but either way, he picked up a significant amount of damage. Otherwise, he would have probably been the favourite to take the race win, honestly. Still Binbo leading the way. Collins is going for 9th position there against Adjinsons. See, it's quite segregated now, the professionals and the amateurs, top 9 pros, and then the next 5 position all amateurs. As you see the time difference, and a pull up there for Emil Vinbo, that's a mistake, maybe even an off track there, Marco, for Vinbo, and that's the least he needed. He was going to be caught anyway, but that's just sped up the process.
Yeah, 2.6 seconds lost in one lap. Quite clearly a mistake somewhere by our race leader, as he will now have to defend. As you can see, almost perfect. Oh wow, Brunfield there riding hard on the curb on the inside in the first part of Moss corner, gets the job done. We are basically, we could. I mean, it's difficult because there is, big gap, but if only Brunfield and Ruderbush can get to 10th and 11th, we could have a pretty satisfying looking time tower. But I don't think it's gonna. It's very rare that we have the drivers in order, which is, oddly satisfying, I have to say.
Yeah, we had it a few times in qualifying in the Formula 3 Championship at the back end of last season, where pretty much every qualifying was always the first 9 pros, next 9 amateurs. It was absolutely glorious that, but yeah, very rare in this championship because...
repeated that. I jinxed it.
Aha.
I mean, the lead chances we had, they are gone.
Yeah. So, missable day from Rudersbush, but it is a short pit lane around this circuit. One of the shortest ones we have this season, and of course there's not really much penalty either coming into the pits or coming out. If anything, coming out you managed to save a few yards, taking that inside line. So it's Bush back in 18th position. He's top of the jersey who have come into the pits. And all the drivers who have come into the pits, that will be purely for repairs because you don't need fuel in this series. We've been drivers who picked up damage in the early stages. You had to pit for repairs, and we've got really several drivers, 8 drivers I believe, all having problems like that. But yeah, we'll just push the top of those drivers at the moment. We also had Tom Collins who started from the pits for this race. But he's all the way up in 10th position, so just showing how chaotic this race 2 has been. Mackenzie just going past Koulibaly, by the way, there, and also thanks to everyone who's chatting here on the YouTube chat. Nick Glenn, clearly a very proud father, as he should be, with his son doing very well. 5th place in race 1, running up in 5th place in race 2 as well, so if you're enjoying the show, Nick. Wow. Adjinsons is still under pressure from Collins. This battle has been going on now for a few laps. Adjinsons was able to pull away slightly, but on that last lap he actually lost 0.4 of a second, so Collins is right back to the rear, and Van der Nesse has come with them as well. Van der Nesse was having a stormer of the race. It was running up in 6th position, but then made contact heading through turn 3. That's why he's a bit further down, so it's soon going to be a battle for the amateur win, I believe.
Talking in the beginning about my first ever online race here at Mosport in Grand Prix Legends in 2021. I was 12 years old back then, and I'm 32 right now, and I already went the route of the washed-up driver that turns to comfort, because it is not enough. So to see a 14-year-old driver be this, this quick already, I mean, because usually when you start this early, you are either a very good driver or you are a total bust. I was the latter. I think Glenn looks like the favorite. Looks like a very good driver, and he's putting a cross from 5 as Laubish is off again. Right in front of these guys. There he is.
Yeah, I mean, that was loud. I mean, I really heard that. I don't know if you viewers heard that one, but Mackenzie, has Mackenzie made the same mistake, or no, down at turn 1, so Mackenzie shame for him because he just got past Koulibaly. But now he's dropped back down to 15th. So this is, yeah, absolutely dreadful right now for Lavi. He's still up in 12th position, only 22 seconds off the lead. But that damage, maybe forcing him to push a bit extra hard. Maybe it's got some steering damage. But whatever it is, it seems to be making an impact. Of course, he did have the off as well in race 1, to be fair. As we see it, certainly wasn't understeered there. Did he dip a wheel onto the grass in the corner entry there, Mike? I wasn't quite sure.
I didn't quite catch that, but it's a very, very strange way to crash there, so probably something must have been very, very wrong for him. Either that or, the aero imbalance of the car because of the damage. made him, go around entering the corner, which again, very, very unusual. As we are now with Hutchinson following Glenn, think about him earlier, and Crouch. This is the fight for fourth place. These 3 drivers are around 4.5 to 5 seconds back from power, so they take a bit of work if they want to get back and fight for the podium, as in the meantime, gap at the front. Get information, no tilting of the grass. Man, I'm on a roll. What I was about to say is that Bimbo is under massive pressure now from Neymar. Alpha second as they go through the S. Then Laubish is off again and back onto the track, but he needs to stop. Of course, now the more you wait, the bigger the penalty is going to be, because you have to deal with the slower car because of the damage and the pit stop, of course, and the group is you drop further and further backwards, no? So of course it's easier to say it for me, but maybe he should have stopped earlier, because now if he stops, he's going to be, I think, around Adrian Sen's territory, Linden maybe.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm sure you may have been tempted just to hit just for the fun of it, So you have a clean car for 40 minutes. Not fun driving a damaged car for the best part of 40 minutes. Maybe he'll be regretting that, but I'm sure he would have been thinking about the championship. I'm sure is Michael Neymar. He won race 2 at Red Bull Ring, and he is well on course for taking race 2 here as well. 22 places gained now for Neymar as he passed Emil Binbo, and he is ahead heading into the S's section. That's a shame for Aaron Powell just behind. He would have been hoping that maybe Binbo would hold up Neymar for at least a few corners, because Powell has been lapping faster than the top 2 for a while now. So you only need a little bit of help there to really get on the case of the Logitech G Altus eSports driver, but instead he's going to have to do it all on pace himself and hope that he can get past the Cars competition car fast. But yeah, looking all very good right now for Neymar. And yeah, once again, that spin for James Crouch really did help out Neymar quite a bit. It took out several of his rivals ahead of him on circuit. As still Crouch ahead of Glenn and ahead of Hutchinson. Could see a similar case to what we saw in race 1 with the Evo cars perhaps holding up Glenn. He's certainly got a good idea of what the back of the Evo cars look like by the end of tonight. Of course, if you've enjoyed this broadcast, please do leave a like on it. And if you're watching on YouTube, and also subscribe to the channel, and if you fancy, you can check out our Twitch channel. Of course, if you're watching on Twitch, thank you very much as well, but if you're watching on YouTube, do check out our Twitch channel, because well, you might prefer to watch our streams over on that platform. And also, there's a little bit of a lower latency as well, so when you're using the SDK live timing, which opens into a web page for yourself, then there's a little bit less of a delay, which really enhances the live timing experience. It's a lot easier to follow what exactly is going on out on circuit. And of course, do check out our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram pages as well to get constant highlights and updates about all the series we have on Apex Racing TV, and also check out all the channels on Apex Racing League as well, where you can see updates about our series. Yeah, please do all of that stuff. Certainly is worth your time, but yeah, hopefully you are enjoying this broadcast, and we've still got over half of race 2 remaining.
And don't forget, if you like what you're seeing and you want more GT racing, well, you are in luck, because a new series is starting in just a few hours at midnight 15 GMT from Road Atlanta, round 1 of the XSLR Racing Series. It's going to be a multidiscipline championship based in North America, and they're doing a lot of different cars. They are starting with GT3s around Road America in around 4 hours time. Guess who's going to be up for that?
We appreciate all that you do, Mark. Okay, all the graveyard shifts, but no, that should be a good one. Might watch back that one later on. Should be good around that circuit. As Powell, we see moving past Binbo, very much what we expected for second position. Binbo, I don't believe has ever got a podium. Might be wrong on that one, but I'm sure he'll have a chat with us after the race. He's usually quite up for an interview, but this would be a terrific result if he could get it home. But for now, he's going to leave Powell to his own devices, and probably lets him catch up to Numai ahead. Just a little bit of smoke as Vinbo. That's kind of a curse, and he's round. Turn off the traction control. Well, he seems to have absolutely zero traction control of that anyway, and he drops behind the very fast in a straight line James Crouch. That is disappointing there for Vinbo, and maybe he won't come to have a chat with us now, because he will be infuriated with that, because he's been one of the few drivers who hasn't made a mistake tonight, but he's fallen for the oldest trick in the book.
Oh yeah, Moss corner strikes again, and he lost several positions, as you can see. So now, of course, it's an uphill climb for him. He could have tried. I think he would have been able to manage the gap he had over fourth place before the mistake, but now, of course, he will have to make 3 overtakes if he wants to get back to the bottom. Easier said than done. Meanwhile, in the amateur class, Collins leads the way, and between himself and Van den Essen we have Adriaanse in 9th place. That, of course, is Jensen Adriaanse. And 3rd place is the Welshman Chris Prescott. They are not that far away from each other, especially Collins and Van den Essen, so we might have a fight for the lead in the amateur class as we enter officially right now the second part of the race, Sam. So less than 20 minutes left in race.
And there's still a lot more to occur. We've got a lot of drivers with damage, but a lot of drivers making their way back up through the order, so could be plenty of changes, including for both the pro and the amateur leads, as Atkinson has had a problem. Prescott's also just got past Van der Nesse. So, and Lalbish now gets past Atkinson, who, yeah, I think that must have been an incident at Moss Corner. I think that would make sense. So, and he had a collision with another driver, and it was actually Van der Nesse. So that would explain why Van der Nesse has dropped behind Prescott then. So yeah, Van der Nesse and Atkinson's coming to blows, and yeah, 2 veterans of the series, and in fact Van der Nesse even leading the pairs now, it seems. So huge shame for him, because he was looking very good for the amateur race win, but then had a spin, and now has had that incident as well. That has really ruled him out, as might even get a replay of what exactly happened.
Yes, there we go. So look at Adriaanse losing the car, entering Moss Corner, and then a collision with the BMW. One could maybe make a case either for an unsafe rejoin, or maybe not slowing enough with the car and the yellow flags waved. That's surely an interesting one to look for the stewards if should the incident be protested. Sam, and we are back with live pictures on the backstretch. Once again, Atkinson trying to go around Glenn, with Crouch leading the way. So in the middle of this Evo SR sandwich is Glenn right now. And of course, as per usual, let me remind you that this series is sponsored by Wave Italy. They give us some incredible support and great prizes, with of course the winner getting either the Imola Cyclus pedal, they will have the chance to pick one that is there. Also, I think Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, a trip to the simulator in Verona on the table. Am I right?
Yeah, for the amateur winner, they get a half-day driver tuition over at the Verona driver training area, which is it's a cool prize, isn't it? It is an absolute immense prize, which I'm sure many of the amateur drivers have on their minds for this season. As well, I'll say a couple more things about Wave Italy, but first we've got this battle between Crouch and Glenn. This is ever so close. This is Crouch's or Glenn's kind of struggled through Moss Corner in race 1, and we really get that close. And again, just the straight line speed of Crouch's car sets that car up to be good and really raceable, and it is working really well right now for him. Still up there in 3rd place, but I recommend heading over to Wave Italy, their website, to check out their videos on their driver simulation, because it's absolutely incredible. They've got a fantastic setup where you have your own kind of simulator setup, and then you also drive on circuit with the coach as well. And it's a really thorough driver tuition that you get, really pinpoint everything that you can do. They use it in a real race format, so you're racing against the coach pretty much, and that's a really good way to improve on not only your pace, not only your driving lines, but also your racecraft skills as well, which isn't necessarily something that you get from other driver tuition places. And of course they also provide amazing peripherals as well, wheels and pedals. And really the logic behind those wheels and pedals is to make it as realistic as possible, not necessarily to make you as fast as possible, they will make you faster of course, but to really convey the real racing thrill. And they use real life data to do that. They're absolutely the best in the business, so do check out Wave Italy. And of course, like I said earlier on, if you use the discount code APEXRACING5, then you can get a 5% discount on any Wave Italy products. So certainly to check out their websites. It's a really cool place.
If they don't make you faster, Sam, at least you can enjoy Verona, which is a beautiful city in northern Italy. So if you can imagine a straight line from Munich to Innsbruck to Verona, these three cities are basically in a line, equidistant from each other. So it's very close to the center of the center of Europe, not that far away from Germany. That's what I'm trying to say, and Austria. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place, and great drinks.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be an absolute awesome trip for whoever manages to win it. At the moment, we go to Dara Adjinsons, who is based in Belgium, so hopefully he'll be able to make the trip. That'd be pretty cool. Luma and Pal still 1.6 seconds, the gap. Just wondering, Marco, you said earlier on that these cars aren't going to fall away completely after 40 minutes. That they are meant to go 50 times longer race distances than this, but this is a track with very long radius corners. It's hard on the tyres. There isn't that much rubber on the track, it seems, and it's a very hot surface as well. We're over 40 degrees track temperature. I think if the tyres are going to wear out at any round of the championship, it's probably going to be this one, and that might start to play.
I saw earlier at the end of race 1 there was quite a bit of cloud cover, and I thought that the state helped the drivers, but it seems like the clouds have gone away, just like in a traditional Italian summer where it's scorching hot clouds. Unlike your summers, I hear your competitors cry about 25 degrees Celsius, considering it a hot day. And you are absolutely right. We were saying during the track walk earlier how the car is always in this dynamic state, always leaning heavily, especially when there is a mistake from Prescott there. Maybe Bromfield will be able to profit, and so you put an immense stress on those tires, and it might come, especially at the end of this second race, with these high temperatures on the racetrack, it might very well force you to maybe take a little bit of a different line. We know that in recent, be more careful, in recent seasons, I think 2 or 3 patches ago, builds ago, iRacing service has slightly decreased the tire wear of the GT cars. Therefore, maybe something a bit more. It's not like it was like 1 year ago. These cars, basically, the GT cars were able to run for 3-4 hours, without a problem. No? You will feel the ball a bit more, especially at this racetrack here with these conditions.
Yeah, it could be a difficulty for the drivers. We saw at Phillip Island a couple of seasons ago. It's absolute craziness in the second race on that occasion. If we get anything like that, then that really will be tricky for the drivers. So Lao Beach, of course, turn into turn 3 last early run in the race. Absolutely no grip. The drivers really committing to these corners. So if those rears go away, could be big trouble. Red Netto's already come into the pits in this race. In fact, he is the leader of the drivers who have come into the pits. He needs to pit for repairs. The incident that we saw with him, where he just came across a stricken Jensen Adjensons. Didn't seem that bad, honestly, for him, but must have caved in maybe the front tyre, and so he had to pick up his faster pair. However, he's been very strong since then. A good pace for Bandinese, one of the strongest drivers for the Amateur Championship, I am sure, and he is up into 13th place overall, so good effort from him there. A few battles getting a little bit closer. Stephen Broomfield is on the tail of Tom Collins. I think we can see, apologies, this is Broomfield and Prescott, apologies. You can see Stephen's webcam with him racing along, using his virtual reality headset. And that was pretty good, seemingly helping him quite a bit through Mosport. Manages to get a few car lengths away. They've now got Nicholas Laubisch around them. He's had loads of issues. Laubisch, though, still not coming into the pits. He is much faster than these drivers.
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, I heard say not a big fight from Prescott there. I've heard some horror stories of VR headsets in the summer. You know, I think maybe it enhances the immersion, because you know these cars. I know that they have to have they have some sort of air conditioning systems on board. Especially lately, the FIA has been very strict in mandating a certain temperature when they drive to have better comfort for drivers. But you know, driving a race car is blazing hot engine, especially on the Ferrari, the engine. There's nothing compared to the BMW. Where you have or the Corvette with this engine at the front, pumping it towards you. Especially in a summer day like this, it's extremely uncomfortable. And I think one of the worst offenders was the old Daytona prototype, both the Turtle and the more recent one. Absolutely dreadful to drive in hot days, I've been told by the drivers.
Yeah, it's I would not want to be wearing a headset, and you mentioned it earlier on. 25 degrees Celsius, that is boiling for everyone in the UK, including myself, as Laubisch pulls off a superb move, very cool-headed there. It's the worst fun of the week, and he's up to 9th place.
I mean, even the headsets are very uncomfortable this time of the year. We're not driving. In fact, my hair losing color. I dye my hair, and now that it's very hot, they are losing color exactly in proximity of the ears, but I have my headset pushing. So now my hair is basically blue, but near the ear region they are white. I don't know, I look like a Scotland fan, basically.
Well, let's see. Yeah, he's off the circuit, it seems, is Prescott. We'll see if he moves down some places. Yeah, Atkinson's now passed, so bad news there for Prescott. Meanwhile, Crouch holding off Ving Glenn. Man, Glenn's got so close so many times so far in this race. I think it was Hutchinson who he was stuck behind in race 1. It's something Crouch in this race 2, which he can just not find a way at the moment. And Prescott running wide, but not picking up any damage on that occasion. He does drop a position, though, behind Jensen Adjensons. So Adjenson's up into 10th position now. Prescott still second place out of the amateur drivers, but the drivers score points for their overall position. It's not the position that you finish in class. So as an amateur driver, and as a pro driver, it does matter that battle between Adjensons and Prescott will get 1 point extra for whoever can finish on top of that one. So a little bit of Cossiero there for Prescott. Let's look at Hutchinson. Wow, he's almost got a turbocharge on that one. He's going to go off the circuit. He made contact, and now he's going to do well to get back onto the circuit here without losing a place. There goes Vinberg. Hutchinson, very smart there, just slowing down for the second part of the S's. And, well, he saw his opportunity there. Marco, the Evo guys almost boxed him in, but he wasn't quite able to get the car around the outside.
He was lucky to find one of the very partially paved runoff areas of the track. Otherwise, he would have had... Oh, and
he's off again.
this is the bigger problem, I think, because Kittelman goes past is still navigating the grass, and he's back on the racetrack right now.
So Hutchinson hit the wall with the right rear there. So that's probably the best scenario that could have happened there, honestly, because heading off at turn 2 is usually significant damage for yourself, but just making contact with the rear might damage the rear wing, might make the bands a little bit worse, might take a few Ks off the straight line speed, but you should be very thankful there. You can see some of the skid marks. There's lots of different alternative lines that the drivers have made tonight, particularly in race on lap 1. In race 1 we had 3 drivers go off. In race 2 I think we had 2 drivers who went off, and of course many others as well through the hour of racing that we've seen, as we see a replay exactly what happened to him, tipping a wheel onto the grass, and it was a fairly heavy hit there, Marco, but once again that could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, the rear wing damage is the last thing you want with this car, especially with this damage model. It's now for him like having a parachute attached to the back end of his car. Van den Esse also a little bit of a trip in the gravel there. You see the car right behind him, it's Rutterbusch. You can see the gap with the car in front getting lower and lower. There he is, Van den Esse, a tough race for him. As Sam, as you were saying earlier, he already had a trip earlier in the evening. As you know, all of a sudden, this means we are having a lot of fun. We are only 3 minutes and change, maybe less than away from the end of the race.
Yeah, very nearly there. The closest battle is this one for 3rd position. Will not stop. Still, Glenn, sorry, trying to get past. Vinbo's been very quick in this race. Remember, Vinbo was well clear of these 2 drivers earlier on. Led for really until about the 20-minute mark did Emil Vinbo. Unfortunately, he made a mistake at Mosport just as he dropped down into 3rd position, and that meant that he went from being about 8 seconds ahead of these drivers to a couple of seconds behind. Since then he's been able to maintain the gap, but hasn't been able to get particularly close. And Crouch was again very close. Just seems like Glenn maybe doesn't have the turning right there for Mosport. He needs all the lock that he can possibly load on. Doesn't seem to quite be happening for him. Crouch as well with a little bit of a draft there from Nicholas Matthews, who also led for a few laps in this race. Did very well from pole position, did Matthews. Held on for a little bit. Unfortunately, an incident for him as well. I believe it was out of his control. I think it was when Crouch spun in front of him, which unfortunately ruined any chance of a strong result. Hutchinson, who went off at turn 2 a few minutes ago, he has very quickly caught up to Tom Collins. Collins has had a little bit of a sketchy lap, honestly. He's lost about a second to Hutchinson on that last lap, indicating this might be fairly easy, but we've only got a minute left on the clock, and so Hutchinson's got to get a move on that.
1 minute left in this race. Let's see, the leader is about halfway through this lap, so if we get the white flag next time he crosses the start-finish line, means that these guys have a little bit more time left to race. They are sitting in 7th and 8th position before, just above him, Mark Hutchinson here. As he leaves the curve coming out of Mosport and Andretti, that is Laguna Seca, this is the Andretti straightaway. White flag for Michael Neumayer. This will be the final lap of the race for the leader, and soon the final lap of the race for these drivers.
And it's now 7th place for Hutchinson. Huge overspeed. That might be a bit of damage on the front of Collins' car. There certainly has been contact for him, but I think that was just the setup for Hutchinson. And 7th place isn't too bad, albeit he will be kicking himself that he had that 5th position in the bag, really ahead of Vinbo and ahead of Kitsman before. Of course, he spun around. Of course, been a nice battle with a couple of cars ahead as well, with Crouch and with Crouch and Glenn, has he not made the mistake. Rutsbush is past Van der Nesse. That's a lovely move. And that's, of course, what Crouch tried to do earlier on. Rutsbush doing it with much greater success. And speaking of success, this man has got a little bit of it this season. Just the one race win out of the first 6 races for Michael Niemeyer. However, the highest I-rated driver on the grid is able to take the checkered flag for the 2nd time this season and really consolidates that 2nd place in the championship as well. Aaron Powell finishes in 2nd position, and those two really are setting out their stall for this championship, 1st and 2nd in both race 1 and race 2, and they split the points evenly between the two. Crouch finishes in 3rd place, beats Glenn. Brilliant battling between those guys all the way through. Vinbo with a frustrating 5th place. Kittelman very happy with that 6th. And Tom Collins is about to come to the line. And Collins, one of certainly the amateur championship rivals, with Derek Atkinson's having problems. Collins definitely closing that gap. Delighted with that result. Marco, that was, I think that was kind of what we expected, honestly. Overtaking was a little bit tricky. I think we saw a little bit more of it than at least I was expecting out there. We saw some brilliant battles and a lot of mistakes as well. This Mosport circuit is, I think, certainly an underrated gem on the iRacing service.
I think this was a very, very nice race. Both race 1 and race 2 were very exciting. As you were saying, you know, this is one of those places where just watching the drivers fight against the racetrack is exciting in itself. And so, you know, full props to these drivers, because it was a very, very tough evening of racing. It's, you know, tough conditions, you know, with the weather in real life and the weather in the sim. And so, congratulations to everyone who made it through the evening in one piece.
Yeah, that was, yeah, anyone who didn't go off did a very good job there, as we have got the results then for this round 7 of the championship. It's all very confusing because we only had 1 race back at Watkins Glen. It was worth double points, but yeah, round 7 of the championship, meeting 4 of the season, and there is Michael Niemeyer once again with a race win. That's back-to-back reverse grid race wins, which is quite a weird achievement to make. Obviously, but obviously that shows his overtaking. It was very good, and over 10 places gained in both of them. 23 places, I believe, gained tonight. 22 places gained for him. Also, 22 places gained for Aaron Powell, who manages to finish in 2nd place and keeps the overall championship lead. Then it was James Crouch, who probably didn't have his best drive ever, but he fought very hard and finished in a very good 3rd position. Vin Glenn was in 4th position. A couple of great results for him tonight, actually. Then it was Emil Vinbo, Kevin Kittelman with, honestly, one of his best results in the series, to be fair. Kittelman, really good drive from him. Mark Hutchinson was in 7th place. Tom Collins was top of the amateur drivers, and by a comfortable margin as well, in 8th. Then it was Nicholas Labish, who'd had an absolute mare tonight. Stephen Broomfield was in 10th. Then it was Jensen Adjinsons. Chris Prescott was 2nd place out of the amateurs. Then it was Mikael Ruttersbusch, who had to come into the pits, but yeah, like a couple of others, he fought very well. So too did Chris Van der Nesse to finish on the amateur podium. Then it was James Koulibaly, Dar Adjinsons, Nicholas Matthews, Colin McKenzie. Those last 3 drives all 1 lap down, just showing the problems for the drivers out there. In 19th position was Angel Pedrero. Then it was Regis Clark, Dominic Linton, Christian Engelhardt, Tom Brown, Danny Lee, who scores absolutely no points there. Big shame for Danny, he's had a tricky season. Leandro Andriucci had an absolute rubbish evening, could have definitely won that race too. So too did have a disappointing evening was Thomas Avanzini. Tom Bingham was in 27th. Then it was Tobias Ogrodnik and Nikolai Thurain. Apologies, Tobias, been butchering his name all night long. I think I've got it for the rest of the season, but tonight not a very good one. I believe we might be able to get some replays of a few significant moments that we've seen tonight, at least in race 2 of the evening. Of course, there was plenty of action that's occurred out there, Marco. And yeah, particularly the race start in that race too was crazy. We could barely see most of it, but all of a sudden there were drivers who had gained 12 positions by the time we got halfway around the lap.
Absolutely, absolutely correct. And we will see those replays right now. For example, we are looking at Danny Lee making his way to the car engine lap 1. Then you can see basically all over the place, left, right, and center in the racetrack. But then all of a sudden, it's almost, Sam, I don't know if he had like a hardware failure, because it seemed like the car made a very sudden jerk to the left, and it was very unnatural, even considering the possibility of some contact there. What do you think? Because it seemed to me like it was a very, very strange movement from the car. Like it jerked to the left immediately, like out of nowhere.
I think he may have clipped the grass on the inside, which is an awkward place to get onto, but maybe, yeah, that clipping of the grass combined, as we might get a bit of a replay of this one. This is on board with Nicholas Laubisch on the first lap. Lee, I believe, is right in front of us. And maybe the cold tyres as well, but you can certainly see there getting a little bit of grass, and then the car starts to turn the left tyres grip up. Very much takes a sharp right turn and then has to overcorrect it and into the wall. That'd be a nasty accident in real life. Numa managed to get through all of it. I was very fortunate not to be sideswiped, honestly, there by Danny Lee. And then I think this could be quite a good angle to see what on earth happened down at Moss Corner, because there were cars left and right all stricken around. And yeah, Numa just managed to pick his way through all of it.
Thankfully, in life, we don't have the iRacing magnetic walls that sometimes tend to hug the cars a bit too much. They don't want to let the car go, no? So they, what happened there to Danny Lee, the car basically became one with the wall, and you know, a sudden stop. That's the end of your race. You can see some damage there on the right rear of the Porsche right in front of us, and you will see basically this amount of humanity there. You can see there, and a lot of cars bouncing hard over the curve there, which you can use, but then of course you can see the tarmac becomes the grass very suddenly. So now we see Steven Bramfield on lap 4, and basically same place as before, getting down the hill, entering into Moss Corner, braking, and maybe the Porsche there, Sam, clipped the car, the Ferrari in the middle. This clipped the Ferrari clipped the other Ferrari, the one with Steven Brumfield, and that basically gave way to the chaos there. That would have been a massive crash. Surprised that we didn't have more cars involved.
Yeah, it was a bit of a domino effect, wasn't it? That was one into the next, tiny little hit there for Broomfield, who, yeah, wasn't a great evening there for Broomfield. Had a crash, I believe, in race 1 as well, heading into Canada Corner, so shame for him. Hopefully we'll get some interviews with the drivers, and we certainly do have one lined up, and it is with Cars Competitions Emil Winberg, who now joins us in the commentary box. Emil, congratulations, couple of good results there tonight, considering that you started from the pits in race 1. We'll get to race 2 in just a moment, but how was that race 1 for you? Because it seemed like you were by yourself on the most part, but kind of just picked up the pieces.
Yeah, it was quite lonely to be honest. I started from the pits obviously, and I think I made no on-track overtakes on lap 1, and I gained 6 places. And then a few more people kept just falling off the road, or there were a few people who were I was a bit faster than, so I could overtake a few people, but generally it was just people falling off the road. Then I made a small mistake, like 1 to go or something, lost 1 position. Yeah, still P14 from 20 to 28, I'll take it.
It was an awesome second race, however, certainly the start. You were up into the lead by, I think lap 3 or 4. Does it get a little bit kind of sweaty palms when you're into the lead? I mean, does that come into your mind right there, or were you not too fussed about being in the lead of the race?
I think I just hope that I think it was James Crouch was too for a little bit when I was leading, and I just hope that they could hold them up because I had quite similar pace to James, but eventually Neumeyer and Aaron got past, and I knew that it was just a matter of laps before they caught me, and then yeah, one mistake again in Moss corner cost me podium.
Yeah, that was a disappointing one on that case. The track temperature was warm, and it was
Way
getting
too high.
warmer. It was 46 degrees by the end of the race. Does that make much? Was that making much of an impact for you? And were you prepared for that with the setup?
I got a setup from Neumeyer, just sent to me like an hour before the race. I hadn't done a whole lot of practice because of Le Mans 24, and yeah, the few laps I did before weren't in 46 degrees, so my front tires were quite a lot worse than my rear tires.
Yeah, that must have been tricky, but you certainly drove very well throughout that, Emil. Next round of the championship will be hosted at Silverstone for next round. Then we have the break week after that. A little bit more of a familiar circuit. Silverstone, bit wider, maybe a circuit that you got a bit more experience on. Yeah, you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, it should be fun. A bit less punishing than Mosport. But then again, that brings back the issue we had last week, the incidents. I don't think anyone had, nobody had a drive through here. Because, I mean, if you go off, you don't gain anything. You're off and probably in the wall somewhere. But at Silverstone, there are a few corners where you can extend and gain a little bit of time, just taking the 1x further off track. So we'll see how that goes.
Best of luck for that one. Emil, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Again, thank you for the broadcast and the big organization, and then everyone at Kairos for their support throughout the half year, 8 months I've been here now.
Awesome. Well, we love having you in the championship, Emil, and yeah, well done on tonight, and see you in 7 days' time.
See you.
Emil Vinbo there, your 5th place finisher in race 2. Yeah, was he 5th place? 5th place finisher, yeah, in race 2, and 14th place in race 1. Next round of the championship market is Silverstone. Like I said before, very different to this place. I mean, to be fair, once again, long radius corners, but so much wider. A very different surface as well. It's much more slick over at Silverstone, and overtaking is going to be a bit more possible as well. So I'm looking forward to that one. We haven't visited that circuit for a few months in this championship, so it'll be nice to return.
I mean, quite the contrast. You're absolutely correct. We go from one of the old school tracks in racing to, I'm sorry if I say this, but Silverstone, not really the same track as it was back in the 60s and 70s. It's still a very, very good racetrack, but you know, you can see it straight away. It has been upgraded fully to World Championship kind of racetrack. So as you and Emil were saying earlier, very wide surface, a lot of tarmac runoff areas, so a lot more forgiving, and especially in that first section, which I call it the new section, but in reality, you know, it has been changed more than 10 years ago now. It will give a lot of passing spots. You can go side by side for the majority of that first new sector of the racetrack, and of course the final chicane as well. A great passing opportunity. You can get in the draft and make moves on on the Younger Straight. So certainly a very different kind of racetrack to the one we just had here at Mosport. Two completely different animals.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, of course, you haven't seen too much of the championship so far, but we've of course had Newmy and Powell top 2 in both races tonight. You think those two have kind of established themselves as the favourites, or do you think maybe defending champion Lao Bish or maybe Danny Lee or many of the other very competitive drivers could mount a challenge, or do you think it's going to be those two really dominating to the end?
Well, Sam, I've noticed that this is a championship where you really cannot afford to make any kind of mistake. You make a mistake, the drivers are so evenly matched, so quick, that they are quick and evenly matched. So if you make a mistake, even if you are as quick as the guys in front, it's almost impossible to come back. So if these drivers that were at the front today can stay clean as they did today, they have a good chance of bringing home another good result. But you need to survive the first lap, and as I was saying, for different reasons, the first lap at Silverstone has its own set of challenges with many overtaking spots and a very wide track surface.
Well, that will be back with you then at Silverstone, this Wave Italy Apex Racing League GT Championship at the same time next week. Hopefully we'll see a few more of you around. If you're watching this on repeat due to something else going on, hopefully you have enjoyed the broadcast. Of course, if you're watching along live, thank you very much for catching this broadcast. Hopefully you've enjoyed it all. Of course, do leave a like on this video, subscribe to Apex Racing TV, check out our Twitch channel, check out our social media platforms as well on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Huge thanks to Wave Italy for being the title sponsor for this championship. You can check out a link to their website in the description below, I believe, or you can just search Wave Italy into a search engine and you should be able to pop up their website. Really interesting, just to have a browse around. Some of their videos are very interesting. And of course you can get a discount using Apex Racing 5 as well for any of their products. Big thanks as well to SDK Gaming for providing our overlay, and also Virtual Racing School and Apex Racing Academy for their support of this series and all of the Apex Racing League series as well. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Marco Barbnier, and from the entire team here at Apex Racing TV, we are going to say goodbye, and we will see you back very soon.